Hello and welcome to the first out of three training sessions for MailPlus with a Workbooks integration. The sessions are split into three. The first one that I'll be going through now is looking at an overview of the platform and then going through the data side of things in more detail. We'll jump into Workbooks in the second half of the session and show you how the integration works between the two platforms. In the second session, we'll be diving into the message content in more detail. So building messages and then actually sending them out through MailPlus as well, and then sort of explaining how that gets fed back into workbooks. And then in the third and final session, we'll be going through the automations piece. So automating messages through MailPlus, then having a look at the reporting data that's available in MailPlus and also what's sent back into workbooks in more detail. So as I said, split into three sessions. This is the first one. We'll be going through an overview and data. So once you're logged into MailPlus, you'll be taken to the home page. Here, you'll see the featured article. This one at the moment is the email editor. You can go through there and read more about the email editor in this case. Moving down, you've got a couple of sort of overview reports here. So the first is the mailing results. So if you integrate MailPlus into your e-commerce website, you can see the value of those sends and have a look at that report there. On the right side, you've got the recently added contacts. So I'm in our sort of demo account here. So there's not much activity, but when you are logged into your account, you'll see a big sort of increase once the initial sync has happened from Workbooks into MailPlus. Then after that, it will then sort of die down. You'll then start to see sort of your just general every month or so how many contacts are being added into MailPlus from Workbooks. Moving down, you've then got access to our help site, so you can pop in a question there. That'll take you through to our help site there, and also the contact details for our support team as well. We've got a link to the Spotler Academy. So the Academy is a really good tool to use when you want to sort of learn a bit more about the Spotler platform. So in here, you can sort of learn more about the messages side of things, or even data. There's like a course you can go on if you wanted to explore that in more detail. Below that, we've got the recently added ideas section. You might be new users to the platform. You can put forward your ideas or any sort of improvements you'd like us to make, add them into there. And on the right-hand side, you'll see the top 5 voted ideas. We'll then review those and hopefully add them into the roadmap. Below that, you've got the recently sent mailings. So in here, you see sort of recently sent out messages from the platform. So in MailPlus, a mailing is the act of sending out an email from the platform to a select number of contacts. So in this example, we've sent over four mailings to some contacts. You'll sort of see those examples down below. You can click on the report button. That'll take you to the report for that particular mailing as well. Moving up to the top, on the left-hand side, you've got your navigation bar. So the first option here is mailing. As I said, that's the act of sending out an email from the platform. Some platforms call it a campaign. Sending out an email to a group of contacts. So clicking to there, I can have a look at this tab here. This is the overview tab. All of my previously sent mailings and also ones that are yet to go out, so they've been scheduled for the future, will be shown here. Trend reports allows me to group certain mailings together. So if you've got a very distinctive type of send, maybe like weekly versus monthly send, you can have those as 2 different trend reports to allow you to sort of group those sends together and look at the overall stats for each one. Automailers is a legacy feature that won't be used. And then archive is where you can archive mailings that have gone out already. On the left-hand side, moving down, we've got automations. As I said, that'll be in the third and final session. We'll be going through that in more detail, but essentially automations, you can sort of create those here and then publish them. They can then be fed through workbooks as well. So when a new contact's added to workbooks, maybe to a list within workbooks, they can then be pushed into this automation within MailPlus. Messages where you can create the creative content or the actual content you want to send out. So you've got the overview tab here where you can actually create that message. Campaign messages, again, that's a legacy feature. We can skip over that. Automation messages, so any messages that are being used in an automation get pushed into this tab here. Templates, you can create templated versions of your messages. So again, if you've got different style of emails that get sent out, it might be beneficial to create templates. So you can very easily create style A or style B rather than starting from scratch each time. And again, you've got the archive tab there as well. So the next session, we'll go through creating a new message and I can explain to you how that all works. Lists, so as I said, that's what we'll be spending most of our time in today, so let's cover that for the time being. Forms, so MailPlus, you can build forms, you can host these forms on your website, so we'll give you the HTML code for those, Otherwise, you can host them on our own web pages within MailPlus. So you can create a web page. On that web page, you can add in a form. You can then link to that web page with an email send out, or it can, I also share that link publicly as well. So contacts can sort of go into there and view the form on that page there. Very similar to forms, you've got surveys. So yeah, multiple sort of pages of questions there. Contacts can fill in that survey. You can look at the reports in this tab here as well. As I said, web pages. So you can create those web pages. Within those, you can host additional content that's outside of the email or forms, as I mentioned before. Images. So when you first get logged in, it might be a good idea to come in and sort of bulk upload all the images you typically use when sending out emails from the platform. So it might be, logos or stock images that you use internally. Upload all those in one go. And then whenever you're creating a message, of course, you've got the ability to upload images at that point there. It's just sometimes a bit easier once you get logged in to sort of, do a bulk upload initial upload, and then sort of, add the individual ones per message. Similarly, you can do that for documents as well. So in documents, come in here, click on the new document button at the top right corner there, create that or upload that document that you've created. It could be like a PDF file, for example. You can then sort of be a host that and have that as a link behind the button. The user clicks that button within the email, they then get taken to that document to download. I'll go into settings now. So open up the settings, bottom left-hand corner. My profile allows you to tweak your profile settings like your name, phone number, that sort of stuff. Settings we're going to here. So hopefully not too much you would need to tweak in settings, should be set up for you already. I've got a few company details there. Account licenses on the left-hand side, so I can see how many users I have access to create within this account. So I can sort of see that there, I can monitor that there. Below that, I've got credit, so I can also see again sort of how many credits I've got, when they'll expire. Surveys use a different credit structure, so you've got that there as well. Users, so those 14 users that I've got allocated, how many are currently in use. I can see that here, so I've got 2 that are currently being used. As you can see here, 2 out of 14. When you log in, there'll be a button down below where you can create new users. You can also assign different roles to those users as well. Up the top, moving over to settings. Preferences, not too many things you would want to change here. Main one potentially might be around what editors you have access to. So when you log into your account, there'll be an option to enable or disable the HTML editor as well. So if you rarely use HTML, you might want to disable it. Just saves you a click when you go and create a new message. It won't ask you which editor. You'll always go into the drag and drop. So you might want to change that there. Fields. So you would probably likely come in here and use this from time to time. So in Workbooks, if you wanted to start capturing more information or storing more information around contacts, you'd obviously create that field inside of Workbooks. You'd also need to create inside of MailPlus. And then I'll show you later on in the call where you can actually then link those two together. So create the mappings for the 2 fields in those 2 different platforms. So come in here, go into database fields, and then you can sort of see the existing ones. You've got the UI name on the left-hand side and the database name on the right. You'll very rarely see this. This is in Dutch, but it won't be shown. So you'll see the UI name on the left-hand side. So when you wanted to include someone's first name in an email, you'll search for the words first name and then pull that through dynamically. You can see the type of field and the visibility. The visibility essentially is whether it's being used actively or not. So if I scroll down, I can go to the sort of spare fields down below. So I've got profile 1 onwards. I can come in here, I can rename that to something like middle name or favorite color, whatever you wanted to start, storing against contacts there. And then afterwards, then change that visibility to be visible. You can then start to use that within MailPlus. As I said, once you've done that, you need to map the 2 fields from MailPlus into Workbooks. I'll show you how to do that later on. There's also the option to add a new database field. So all these spare ones currently all text fields. Click on new database field down below. You can then create a database field as well. Tags on the left-hand side. So tags are a MailPlus only feature. These won't be carried across into Workbooks, but it's still a great feature to use. So with tags, you can hide tags behind links within an email. So when a contact clicks on a link, you can give them a tag. You can also have tags applied to contacts when they feed through an automation. So if they're in an automation and they go down a certain path, give them a tag, for example. Once they've got that tag, you can then use that to basically create dynamic lists of contacts, so segments or pots of data. And the rule will be they have this tag. You can then use that to either start automation, so once they receive a tag, then push them into an automation, or it can also be used to change the content that's being shown within an email. So if they're being sent the email and they've got a certain tag, they see copy A versus the copy B, for example. So yeah, quite a useful feature, but as I said, not transferred into Workbooks. It's a MailPlus only feature. So you can manage your existing tags here. You can also create tags on the fly when you're actually in the emails and building automations as well. So permissions in here is quite an important bit to go through. So we will send all, or we will actually grab all of the contacts from your Workbooks account and basically create them as contacts within MailPlus. So regardless of their opt-in status inside of Workbooks, they will be created inside of MailPlus. However, only your opted-in contacts will receive this marketing permission there. So currently that's set as a default permission. So any new contact will inherit that marketing permission. Obviously, this is going to change based on how you sort of want to handle that. Most of our customers don't have that enabled as a default permission. They will only sort of give contacts the marketing permission inside of MailPlus if they're opted in within Workbooks. So yeah, marketing in MailPlus normally maps to opted in within inside of Workbooks. You can have more than one permission. So some of our customers have different permissions based on what type of communication they're opted into. That's certainly a possibility, but again, most customers will just have this one marketing option there. You then have the unsubscribe package below that. So the unsubscribe package is basically given or sort of assigned to each message. So when you build a message, you have to pick a package. It will either be this marketing one, or you can decide not to use an unsubscribe package at all. So when selecting the marketing unsubscribe package, we will check to make sure that when the email goes out, they have the correct permission. So when you're building your segments of data or your dynamic lists, you don't need to say, oh, make sure they're opted in. We'll take care of that for you. So whenever you send out the email, we'll check to make sure they have that marketing permission. If they don't, the email won't go out to them, so they won't be sent that email. If they don't do, then click on the unsubscribe link, and they'll be taken to this form here, and this page here is hosting that form. Once they fill out that form, we'll remove that marketing permission from that contact. Again, if you have more than one permission at the top there, you'd have more than one package there, but we've only got one for this account. There is the option, as I mentioned, to have no unsubscribe package. So I'll talk you through that in more detail in session 2. But essentially, if you want to send like an internal email or an email to contacts that had potentially opted out in the past, you can basically override the marketing check and just go with no unsubscribe package as well. We've then got brand guidelines on the left-hand side here. So if you have maybe multiple teams working in the account, you can basically have different brand guidelines per team if that was useful. So whenever they log in, they can create a message, they can apply their brand guidelines to that message. Or you can include just your sort of standard company guidelines that we've done here for the Spotler account. However, most of the time our customers end up using a template within the messages section. So they'll have their template has already got the colors, link colors, sort of social media icons already applied within that template. So they won't need to apply brand guidelines every time they create a message. It is mainly used if you're creating a message from scratch and not using that template. But yeah, you can create a new guideline here, or you can modify an existing one here as well. Moving over to integrations. So you've got one set up currently. That's the integration with Workbooks. Web analytics. So you've got the option to enable GA here as well. So for change status, I can enable Google Analytics here and make it active if it's currently inactive. What that does is it basically adds in the default UTM parameters against each of the links you include within the email. So we'll automatically add in campaign, source, and medium to those links. You can also add in extra parameters. So if it was useful, you can go to active here. You can then edit the parameter down below. And it might be you have like, customer type, for example. So you can maybe pull through customer type. That'll then be passed through as a value and then, as a name. And then the value can then be passed through dynamically, then pass through the customer type, for example. If there isn't a customer type, just make that none, for example. So against each URL, at the end of the URL, there'll be a question mark, customer type equals, and then it'll pass through that contact's value, whatever they have set against that field, or it'll default to none, for example. So yeah, useful way to pass direction information that you hold against the contact, if that's useful for you to see within GA or another tool. We've then got the domain as well. So if you send from multiple domains, you'll have a second domain there as well. Otherwise, just the one will be there. Under data sync, you can sync products as well if you're integrated with an e-commerce website along with orders and discount codes. But if you're not, you can skip over that. That's fine. Security in here, you can tweak the default sender details. For example, the sender name for email and SMS, you can change those here, and also the reply address as well. So if you want to change that, come in, click on edit, you can then change that default reply address. You can add more than one reply address there as well. So although that's the default one, is my colleague Dan.Coates, you can also have additional ones. So Amy.Johnson, when you create a message, you can then basically pick which one, but it will default this one at the top here. You've then got the different domains you can send from. So you've got those two domains there. So we're using this .co.uk domain, this one here. And you can also enable dynamic sender details as well. That's a really useful tool if you've got like a named point of contact for sort of recipients on in your database. So if they've got like an account manager, for example, you can enable the dynamic sender details. Then whenever you send a message, it will come from that account manager's email address, their first name, last name as they send the details, and the reply address will go to the account manager as well. So yeah, useful tool to use, again, if your recipients have a main contact within the business. And we've then got privacy at the top there. There's a few different sort of documents you can review here, but you've also got the personal data. So any personally identifiable fields will be shown here. And then privacy rights, the right to be forgotten form here. So if you ever get sort of message or emailed asking to have someone's details removed from your systems, this is where you sort of do that with inside of MailPlus. So come in here, pop in their email address. We'll then remove that email address from the MailPlus account. We'll anonymize the reporting data, so you don't lose that reporting data on MailPlus. You still get to retain that, but the email address is removed from that report. Obviously, if they have emailed you to ask to have their details deleted, you would need to do the same thing inside of Workbooks. We wouldn't sort of be able to do the same for Workbooks. You would need to do that yourself inside of Workbooks. As I said, you've got documents there as well to review if you wanted to. And that's it for settings. I appreciate it's not the most exciting part, but yeah, the main thing to sort of highlight in settings is that fields aspect. So sort of creating new fields if you need to, you do that in the future. And then, as I said, later on, I'll show you how to map those fields from MailPlus to Workbooks. Cool. Going to the left-hand side again, we've got settings we were in a second ago. Academy, again, same link to that Academy. And then I've got an admin setting there. And then finally, you've got the log out button there. Cool. Going into lists now on the left-hand side. I'll go through sort of how the contacts are stored inside of MailPlus and the options you have inside of there as well. So first off, you've got folders on the left-hand side. So for lists, messages, mailings, automations, you can basically create folders. If you've got multiple contacts or multiple employees working within the same account, it's very useful for everyone to have their own folder, or each team or department to have their own folder. So you can do so there. You've then got dynamic lists. So as I said, all of the contacts from Workbooks will be synced over into MailPlus. Once they're in MailPlus, you can then build your dynamic lists from those contacts. So some of our customers just build lists inside of Workbooks, sync that over, and then use that to send to. That's absolutely fine. But other customers of ours also use MailPlus to create segmented pots of data as well. It just depends on your workflow. But if you did want to create those different pots of data inside of MailPlus, this is where you'd come. So you'd go to dynamic lists. You've then got your ones that have already been synced over. Any list that you can see here, they've got the database icon. They've been synced from Workbooks. So all of these ones, minus the last one, have been created inside of Workbooks and then synced over. You'll see there are different types of lists that have been created. So this one here is a campaign, and this is a list sync. So the CRM campaign is where you've created a mail shot inside of Workbooks. You then create that, you then sync that with MailPlus. That'll then automatically create that list inside of a MailPlus there. So that's what this one is here. And you've also got the list sync option below that as well. So list sync is a good way to have a list from Workbooks synced into MailPlus and have that automatically updated on a regular basis. You can then use that for segmentation or dynamic content within messages. So it's a good feature to use. But yeah, most of our customers will just use a CRM campaign option there. So as I said, they'll create a mail shot inside of Workbooks. They'll then attach a mailing list to that mail shot. that'll then create the list inside of MailPlus. But we've got this last option here is the marketing one. This hasn't got the database icon. That means it's been created inside of MailPlus. So what I'll do is I'll create a new one. Top right corner, create a new list. Give it a name. Save and next. I can then edit. That'll then bring up this selection tool here. So click on selection. Choose active contacts as the selection source. In here, I can then filter on tags. As I mentioned, you can sort of create segments based on what tag they have. Yeah, normally it would be sticking a property, then choosing that field down below. So we can do maybe email address contains spotler.com. Okay, that then has 6 contacts that match that rule. If I add in a refinement here, that's going to work as like an and rule. So in addition to the email address rule, I'm going to create an additional rule. They have to match both of those rules to fall into this pot data. You can add additional selections in as separate selections. What that will do is it will basically act as all rules. So either they match this selection or the second one that I add in. So you can add in all rules like that. And finally, you've got the exclusion rule there as well. So on top of any rules you add in, make sure you exclude these contacts by adding in rules there. So you can see we've got 6 total contacts. All 6 have the email address that contains the word @spotler.com. So all 6 are matched. Therefore, 6 contacts are in this segment. Save that, close editor, save and finish. I've then got my demo there. So that's going to be my 6 contacts. I can then send to these contacts, but equally, I could send to a list that have been synced over from Workbooks as well. As I said, completely up to you how you sort of create those lists. Could be in Workbooks or it could be in MailPlus as well. Moving over to static lists, this is a feature that's not used by our integrated customers, so you won't need to use that feature. Contacts, these are all the contacts and will sit, as I said, all of those contacts from Workbooks will be synced over. You'll then see them inside of MailPlus. If you use sales leads and also person record inside of inside of Workbooks, when they get synced over, they will sync as one contact instead of MailPlus. So there is a setting where you can sort of change the default that we look at. So if there is a contact that exists in both formats, we'll then choose one to use inside of MailPlus. But there isn't the idea of having multiple types of contacts inside of MailPlus. You have just got the one contact. We use the email address as the unique identifier. So they will just be shown as one contact inside of MailPlus. Against each contact, I can modify their record on the edit button there. Any changes I make here will be reflected back into Workbooks within 5 to 10 minutes. So if I also change the first name there, that'll then be shown inside of Workbooks in a few minutes. I can also change their permission. So you can see here I'm currently opted into marketing. If I untick that, click on OK, that effectively opts me out. Again, that change will then be reflected inside of Workbooks as well, but I'm going to stay opted in. I can also be made a member of the test group. That's a really useful feature when you come to actually creating your message. When you do, and you go to send a test email, this email address will automatically sort of be given as an option. So yeah, it's worth coming in there and adding yourself as a member of that test group. For this record, I can also then view the record. So I can see all of those custom fields I looked at a second ago. Look at mailing interactions. So essentially, what messages have been sent out, whether they've engaged within those messages. Automation interactions, same idea. Have they been included in automations? If so, what have they engaged with? Campaign is an old tool, so you can skip over that. Form and surveys, again, if they've filled out a form or a survey, you'll see those details there. Tags and scoring, if they have a tag, you can then see which tags they have and when they got them there. And then opt-in, so when was this contact created and how was it created? As you're integrated with Workbooks, it'll always be via the API, but you can see a date stamp there, likely when their contact was created out of Workbooks, if they were created and given that opt-in status. Finally, in that option list, you'll get the inactivate option. Again, that isn't used by our customers who are integrated with a CRM platform like Workbooks, so please don't use that. Cool. Finally, on this page here, you've got the import button there. So again, because you're integrated with Workbooks, it's unlikely you would ever need to import data into MailPlus. You'd always create contacts out of Workbooks and let the integration sort of take care of that for you where it syncs those over into MailPlus. So yeah, you shouldn't need to import data within this tab here. Perfect. As I said, all contacts are being synced over from Workbooks inside of MailPlus. I'm now going to jump into Workbooks and show you how the integration works and sort of show you how you can change those mappings and also how you can create a one-off sync of data as well. So jump into our demo Workbooks account at the top here. Click on the Workbooks logo top left-hand corner and then go into Marketing. You'll have the Spotler Integration option down below. Click into that. This opens up the portal where you can basically tweak the settings of the integration. So you'll always have the support team on hand. If you ever have any questions or need any help doing this, please let them know and they can assist you. Otherwise, you do have complete control over the integration yourself as well. So I can click into the MailPlus integration. This page then show me the CRM application and the ESP. So that's Workbooks and MailPlus. I can then disable the integration. So for whatever reason, if you need to disable it, you can do so there. Record sync, that's where I can basically configure those mappings and I can see what's been set up. This normally gives you an error when you first load, and when you reload it later on, that will then disappear. So, okay, there it's disappeared now. So I'm now looking at the person record sync. So as I said, there are two types of contacts inside of Workbook. So person and sales lead. For person, here I can then tweak the mappings. I can see what records have been passed across, and I can do exactly the same thing for a sales lead as well. I'll stick the person. We'll go into mappings. So for a person record, in MailPlus, city is mapped to the Workbooks value of main location town. So you can see here, these are the mappings that are being shown. Direction, either just going one way, so Workbooks to MailPlus, or going bi-directional. You can't do MailPlus to Workbooks. It has to be either both ways or just Workbooks to MailPlus. So currently, these are all going both ways. So any changes made in MailPlus will also reflect a set of Workbooks as well. Records, so I can come in here and I can see any records that went into cross and the history of those changes as well. You can toggle the hide empty history. So we will, basically every 10 minutes or so, we will check to make sure that we have the most up-to-date data. If not, we'll then make that change. But you can do this hide empty sync history down below. It will then only show the changes rather than just log every 10 minutes. So go back into mappings. Here I can create a new mapping by clicking on the create mapping button at the top here. I can choose my CRM attribute. So that's basically the field inside of Workbooks. I can then select that field. So again, you would have already have created that in advance as part of your sort of setup with MailPlus. All the fields you hopefully you would need to use will already have been created and mapped across. This is more a case of in the future, if you wanted to create additional field, you'd come into here. You would select that field. You would then click the drop down here, choose the field to sync to into MailPlus. So I appreciate these aren't the correct mappings there, but you get the ideas on the example. So I'm going to map can read from Workbooks into the birthday field inside of MailPlus. I can then choose that direction. So again, both ways. So if the update is made in either Workbooks or MailPlus, the other platform will be updated. Otherwise, just one way. So only Workbooks to MailPlus. So if you don't want any changes to be reflected inside of Workbooks, it can be inside of MailPlus. Select this option here. Value transformer, so you can reverse the Boolean logic if you wanted to. So yes equals no and no equals yes. Only sort of very limited use cases for that. So normally you do that as none. Click on create. That'll then create that attribute. If it was a real one, I could obviously do it. But yeah, I would need to obviously have the correct sort of type of field there. So not Boolean going to date. So yeah, once you've got a real sort of mapping to create, add them into both the CRM and ESP. And click on create. That'll then create that for you. Again, you've got different mappings for person and sales lead. So if they only exist as a sales lead, you need to make sure that you've mapped those correct fields over because yeah, if they only exist in the sales lead, they won't be mapped using the person mappings. If I go over to list sync here. Here I can then see any lists that have been previously basically synced across. These list syncs are a one-off sync or maybe a regular ongoing sync, but it's very much a case of creating a list inside of Workbooks and then syncing that over into MailPlus. So this is a manual list sync rather than just an automated process. The automated process is the fact that Workbooks will automatically create any new contacts inside of MailPlus, This is only if you wanted to create a list of contents that are workbooks and have them synced over outside of a send from MailPlus or a mailing outside of a mailing from MailPlus. So in here, I've got one list sync that's already been set up. So this is the people interested in cricket. I've got additional ones down below, but I'm looking at this one here. I can see the details of that list sync. So you can see here, the main list that's been looked at from Workbooks, and the name that's been selected or is going to be used in MailPlus. I've got the schedule, I've got the history there as well. If you want to create a new list sync, I'm just going to go and create a new main list out of Workbooks. So top left-hand corner again, going into there. I'm then going to go into marketing. I'm going to go to my main lists there. Here's where I find all of my lists. So you'll need to have created a report first, and then you attach that report to the mailing list. So if you don't already have a mailing list that you want to sync set up, just go ahead and create a report first. I'm going to go into here. I'm going to go into marketing. Now I'm going to go into my reporting. I'm then going to create a new report, create a blank report. And the type is going to be a person or people report. Give it a name. So add demo again. Click on save. That'll then take me to the details tab. I can then go into columns, add column. So I'm going to go for person reference. Save a new. Column is going to be email as a second one. Save and close. These are the two required columns that you need to use. Obviously, if you wanted to introduce any more logic, you can do so in the criteria. You might want to introduce more columns there, but I only need email address and person reference. And these are the two required ones. Criteria, so I can do criteria. So it might be that the column of email, and then we're going to do contains spotler.com, for example. Save and close. I can then save that and run that. That's then going to basically save that and then I can then sort of see those contacts have been pulled through. So you can see there are a few here that match that criteria. Close it down. I've then got that one that's just been created up the top there of the list of existing reports. So obviously, depending on what list of contacts you want to pull through into MailPlus, you would create that sort of criteria logic within that report. That'll then dictate who goes into the list and therefore who gets synced over. So once I've got that report, I can close this down. I can go back into main lists. I can then create my new main list. Give it a name, so again, add demo. I'm then going to create an empty list there. So here, I can basically go into members. I can add members myself on the one. What I really want to do is go back out, create a new main list, and then create a dynamic main list instead. So again, I can do add demo, so add demo 2 for the time being. Create dynamic list. So rather than empty, I'm basically going to pass through the contacts from my report that I created a second ago. So here, report, I'm going to grab my add demo there. Column, it's going to be person reference. Add members. So rather than me adding members one by one, it's then going to pass through those 5 members all in one go because it's matching that sort of a person report that I created. Save and close. I then got that add demo 2 as my report there. It does sometimes say there are 0 members, but clicking into it, there are definitely 5 members in there. Once I've got that, I can then go back into the integration tool. I can then create a new list sync. So let's say my my goal here is that I want to create a list sync of contacts that are work at Spotler, because when I send out an email, I want to personalize that email based on what company they're at. So I've got my Spotler employees. I'm going to make sure to include some content that's relevant to them. So I'm going to use dynamic content within the message. To do that, I need to make sure that I've got that list inside of MailPlus. So again, you could definitely create this inside of MailPlus. You could create a dynamic list. You could say email address contains Spotler. But again, some of our customers prefer to do this all inside of Workbooks and sync that over. So that's how you do that here. So go into list sync here, click on the plus icon there, give it a name, so add demo Spotler. ESP target is going to be automation or audience. In this example, it's going to be audience. The mailing list is going to be the one that I've created a second ago inside of Workbooks. And the name is going to be the name that's going to be included inside of MailPlus. I can just copy the name for this one here. This top one is the name that's going to be shown inside the integration options. This bottom one is going to be shown inside of MailPlus. As I said, it's important to note that this is going to be the audience rather than automation. Automation will go through, as I said, in the third and final session. Schedule type is important, so you can do on a regular basis, every 30 minutes, hourly, weekly, monthly. On demand, so whenever I click this play icon, run it, or a one-off there as well. So we go for on demand. The final option there is the remove on list removal option. So leaving this disabled or not toggled means that if my Ed Demo 2 list is out of Workbooks, alters, I change the logic, contacts fall out of that list. If I leave this disabled, those contacts will not be removed from the list inside of MailPlus. However, if I enable it, it will make sure that this list inside of MailPlus always reflects the list from Ed Demo 2. So if it changes in Workbooks, also remove them inside of MailPlus as well. Click on create. That'll then create that list sync. So once that's been created, you'll then see that on his page here. So I've got that new list sync option down below. So Ed Demo Spotler is now being shown there. As I chose the on-demand option there, I need to basically run it before it basically pushes into MailPlus. I've also got this option up the top here now that's appeared. So pending updates are automatically applied by the system. Click here to apply them immediately. So basically, without me clicking this button, these changes will not be pushed live within the integration tool. So click on that, click on confirm. That'll then save that list sync configuration. I can then come in here, click on the run icon, confirm. That's then going to push that live. So in the next few minutes, that'll then sort of sync that over. What you'll probably find when you do that first sync, it will create a list inside of MailPlus with no contacts in it. And then on the next sort of update that it does, it will then add in those contacts. After that, every time you sort of update it or it runs automatically, it'll then just add in new contacts. But just the way that our sort of jobs run in the background, we sort of look for any new lists first, and then afterwards the next job will then basically push in those contacts. Again, history will then show those initial contacts and sort of when they were pushed across. Perfect. So that's my sort of list sync into MailPlus. I can then use that as part of some dynamic content inside of MailPlus there. Click on close down now. That's then closed that down. I can go back into MailPlus. I can go into my lists. I'll then see those sort of that one that's been synced across, and you can see here that's come across straight away. So I've got my 5 contacts there. You can see that's the name that I sort of included within the options inside of Workbooks. I then got that list inside of MailPlus. As I said, I can then use that as part of a send where I can sort of use the logic to have different content shown to contacts that are in or not in this dynamic list. As I said, there is also the option to use a mail shot that will create that list for you if you were to sort of plan to use this as part of a send. It is really useful if you wanted to use that dynamic content aspect or just have a list inside of inside MailPlus that you can sort of see gathered on a regular basis if you wanted to use that periodic sync option there. In here, clicking the drop down, I can export those contacts. I can view the contacts that are in that list, but you'll see I won't have the option to edit those contacts because I haven't created this list sort of MailPlus. It was created inside of Workbooks. However, my Ed demo that I created earlier, I can edit that because it was created inside of MailPlus. Any ones that are created inside of Workbooks will just be the list of contacts. You can't modify them further. You need to change that logic inside of Workbooks instead. So that was what I wanted to cover in the overview for session 1, just taking you through the platform and then going into data, talking about contacts, and then creating that sort of one-off list sync within inside of Workbooks, looking at the integration tool there. And then, as I said, in the next session, I'll go through messages, we'll build a message, we'll then send that out to the platform for this mailings tab. As part of that, we'll go back into Workbooks, we'll then create a mail shot, we'll sync that over into MailPlus, and we'll use that mail shot and have all the data going back into there as well. So yeah, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.